Welcome back to part 7 of the Abramelin journal reading. I'm just going to go straight into it. Okay, so this is the 14th of January 2011. This happened on Wednesday night. I thought I would share a lesson I was given last night by the kaneh-bos ally. It has to do with reality being made up of moments that all happen within the same instance. Lateral time is as opposed to our man-made linear time. For a brief moment I experienced this reality, only a portion of it though, but I knew in that moment I would not be able to experience it when I came back to normal everyday life. It is just too big. Anyway, for those interested, this is the imagery that I was presented with. Each second is a moment on a card, and there are multiple cards. We experience each moment all at once, but our attention in our conscious mind is only on one, which was lit up. Our attention obviously moves around from moment to moment. Now, that is each second. So between those seconds, you have to split up the moment more into nanoseconds, making thousands of cards from second to second, and then split it up even further into an infinite number of cards or moments, beyond human reasoning or calculation. Then expand that over an entire lifetime and you have the bigger picture. We live within all of the cards in the same instance. Then remember that is only one person from specific cards or moments. Other things branch off to form the experiences of other people, animals, things, places, etc. It's huge, and it all takes place in the same instance as one large body. Today that view has been expanded more. The ally of the plant is working. That was written in brackets, so I guess it was just a note. My perception of the universe keeps expanding as I get shown more. For instance, who are the gods? Let's take this back a little and explain the HGA, or in Kabbalistic terms, the Neshamah. The Neshamah is the higher self of a person. This portion of our soul is that part which is immortal. As we incarnate through different lifetimes, we forget the previous ones in order to experience the new one. The Neshamah, on the other hand, does not die, is not born, and retains the experiences of all of those lifetimes. When we speak of the gods, we may think of them as sentient beings or archetypes. In retrospect, both are correct in my view. We work with the gods or petition them to aid in our work to affect something of ourselves or our environment. If we want love, we go to a certain god or goddess. If we want money, we go to a different one, each of them having aspects that we require, almost like job titles. You would not go to a plumber to get your electricity fixed, and you would not go to a god of money to get love in your life. Now, each person we encounter has their own aspects and personalities, experiencing this reality in their own manner, their own job titles, as it were. Their Neshamah is therefore experiencing that aspect of life and adding it to the experiences of its previous incarnations. We speak of the gods as being immortal and having more experience, which is the same as the Neshamah. It would stand to reason that the possibility exists that the gods are in fact the higher selves of all the people on the planet. And then again on the 14th of January 2011, this is getting more and more difficult to explain. Imagine yourself as a ball of power. In this ball are all the infinite moments of your existence in this lifetime. Extending from that ball are connective links to all the people, places, things, animals, etc. that you have encountered during this lifetime. And these lines connect to the balls of power, which are those things, people, etc. Now, within this ball, which is you, are also all of your incarnations. This means that the concept of the ball as you expands even further. Connected to this ball, which is you and all of your incarnations, is another ball, your Neshamah. It's not actually connected as it is the ball, but trying to explain in words is not easy. Each person has a Neshamah connected to them, but the higher self or soul is again split into three parts: the Neshamah, the Chiyah, and the Yehidah. Sorry, to all the Hebrew people, I'm sorry if I pronounce those terribly. So now expand your view from the U-ball up to your Neshamah, and then take a group of people, let's say a family, your family. All of the members of your family have their own ball of power containing all of their moments, experiences, etc., and incarnations of same. Each person has a Neshamah, and all of those Neshamah are connected by the Chiyah. Expand that further to contain all the Chiyah of a nation, and you have another Chiyah. Put them all together, and you have the Yehidah, which then unites all. Bloody hell, I was definitely smoking some serious shit. But now remember that the Neshamah is only part of the soul belonging to people. We also have the plants, animals, and all of the other things of creation. Uniting all of this is God, the primal force, the everything and no thing, the universal mind, the all. And now that I explained this as best I can in the format of a network, remove the network and bring it all into one ball of power that is infinite, has no boundaries, and is therefore not actually a ball. Okay, alright, I'm just going to carry on. You've got to understand this is what I wrote, and I'm even struggling to understand it, so I don't know what went on. Okay, 15th of January 2011. At the end of this morning's meditation and prayers, I asked my Nefesh a few questions about my success rate next week and the following week. The answers were quite positive. I then proceeded to ask if my Neshamah was in the room at that present time. I got a yes, so asked where in the room. It led me to the corner on the left side of my altar, southwest corner. I then asked if it is anywhere else in the room. Yes, and then it led me to the corner to the right side of my altar. I asked again if it is anywhere else in the room. Got a yes, so I was expecting it to lead me to another corner, but led me back to the left corner. I asked if it was anywhere else in the room besides these two corners and got a no. It is almost as if my Neshamah is two pillars. Then the 15th of January 2011. Something else that came out this morning was the idea that the Neshamah is the intermediary between ourselves and God. Because everything is God, it becomes impossible to actually communicate with God. So the Neshamah is our God that communicates with everything as necessary. This brought my thought to the Christian Church and Jesus being the intermediary between the people and God. Jesus is like a collective Neshamah, or, as I was then corrected, Jesus is the Chiyah of the Christian Church. This actually reminded me a bit of egregores. Okay, then on to the 19th of January 2011. Today was the last day of the operation, to the point where I now enter the 3 days of the convocation of the good spirits, followed by the 3 days of the unredeemed spirits. I went into my temple oratory three times, morning, midday and evening, and did the following: taking on the name, reading of the Psalms of Redemption, which are Psalms 6, 32, 38, 51, 102, 130 and 143. Then reading of the oration, the one taken from the book of Abramelin by Den and Gus. And then anointing of self, altar, tools and room openings. And finally 5, continue with usual prayers. I have felt calmer than usual today, especially after the prayers this morning. I am sensing a stronger connection. My HGA seems to be coming through stronger, although still in thought, but stronger. Tomorrow begins the 3 days of the convocation of the good spirits. So then we go on to the 20th of January 2011. I have spent the day from 8 a.m. doing hour meditations and prayers. I got to a point where I started questioning whether I was worthy of it. I felt like nothing would happen and went into a self-pity mode. Nothing seemed to be happening except falling asleep. I even got to a point of spontaneous singing where the power had just seemed to disappear, which hasn't happened before. Halfway through the day, the last session I just did, I decided to say the same prayer over and over again, and I started getting some message come through. As I was reciting the same words, I would suddenly start saying something completely different. The prayer I was repeating is as follows: Adonai, I pray that you will hear my pleas and grant me the ability to visualize your holy angels, and that your chosen spirits will grace me with their companionship. The first couple of messages that came through I don't recall. I thought they were just me falling into sleep, but the last two were very definite. I was awake and the words came out of my mouth very specifically. The messages were, as the morning goes out, I come to you, and you have fallen. Okay, I'm not sure if I go on to analysing those, but I should probably do that at some stage. Finished another session earlier. Got the words to the word, whatever that is supposed to mean. One thing I was told internally this morning when I was carrying on about if this doesn't work, blah blah, was that I should continue anyway regardless of today's outcome. Although there was no splendor, no writing on the plate, I do feel that I got a good contact. So we'll continue with the second day tomorrow. I was going to carry on until about 7 tonight, but hunger from fasting got the better of me and started to distract me. It's actually something that should be mentioned there, is that, you know, when you're doing meditations or workings or things like that, you find that, one day goes really well and then the next day you fall asleep, you get nothing, there's just not the right energy. It just doesn't feel like you actually accomplished anything. But it doesn't mean you must stop. Just carry on doing it. You're going to get good days, you're going to get bad days, but the whole thing is to just go through the process. And by going through the process, you actually continue the work. You might not feel like it's continuing, but it does. So just bear that in mind. One other message I got this morning was to use the exercises to call a Magid in order to speak with my HGA. I did this and it came as a column of swirling dark cloud. However, it wasn't something physically tangible like the splendor or the aroma that comes with the splendor. Maybe I read too much into the splendor and expected too much, I'm not sure. However, I wasn't satisfied with the column of dark cloud. Not sure why I wasn't satisfied with the column of dark cloud, but anyway. But again, sometimes we read something in books and we expect, when we practice it, we expect it to be this romanticized version, because it sounds romantic when you're reading it. So you expect the whole thing to be more than what it actually ends up being, but what it actually ends up being is what it actually should be. And then we're disappointed because it wasn't this romanticized version of what we expected. So when you go into working or a practice or something, try and go in without any expectations at all. Just do the work and see what happens. And because you haven't got any expectations, you might find that what happens is actually quite profound. Whereas previously, if you went in with a romanticized idea, what happens just isn't profound at all because it's really not what you were expecting. Okay, so I'm going to end this one here. I think we might get to the last one next Friday. Let's see, I'm on what am I on? Page 32 of 38, so I'll probably finish this next Friday, and that will be at the end of it. So I won't see you, but you'll see me in the video. Cheers.